My name is Chris Heaven, and I'm the CEO of Survival Dispatch. I was a member of our national powerlifting team for many years and won many state, national, and world championships. Even though I'm in great shape for being 55 years old, I am not immune to father time. Most of us feel weaker and make more trips to the bathroom as we get older. U.S. Army research has led to a breakthrough for the #1 water for older Americans. It's not a special sports drink, but a mix with essential nutrients most hydration drinks lack. Keyword, hydration. These nutrients are proven to enhance muscle strength, reduce soreness, and improve bladder health. A Texas doctor leveraged this research and formulated a drink mix to help you stay strong. Click the link below for up to 44% off at nativehydrate.com/dispatch, plus free shipping and a free gift. This is one of the best deals I've seen for high-quality BCAA drink mixes. Don't miss this deal. And we're back. Got my co-host with me today, Mr. Todd Callender. I had to bring in the big brains for this one. we have Dr. Chad Walding on, so
that's the brains.
That side of my screen, basically. So great to see you, Chad, and appreciate you coming on. I would do your introduction, but I'd probably do you no service. So if you could introduce yourself to our audience, that'd be great.
Yeah. First off, guys, thank you so much for having me here. I love coming on and talking about health. So about me, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I've been a physical therapist for almost 20 years now. I've worked in multiple settings, acute care, neurological care, spent a lot of time, most of my time in outpatient, treating people with back pain and neck pain, herniated discs, stuff like that. Also spent a lot of time in the home health setting, going into people's homes who aren't well enough or strong enough. So seen a wide range of people, all ages, all walks of life. I'm also an athlete myself. I love fitness. I love coaching. Generally, I love helping people feel better. That's, I think, it's my purpose on this planet. And that desire comes from witnessing so many humans suffering, having diseases, chronic diseases, pain, and really being led down the wrong path, as we could say, when it comes to conventional healthcare and what to do, right? So that's a little bit about me, and why I do what I do. I love it. I focus on the basics more than anything else, and I think of myself as a guide to get people back on the path to really being in alignment with their biology and in harmony with nature, as we like to say at Native Path.
I think it's a great name. As I was reading through your website, the references to getting people back on the path, that really resonated. So a good choice of names. I'll give you a heads up, fair warning. Somewhere towards the end of the podcast, I'm going to ask you for your thoughts on RFK Jr. and his initiatives that are
great.
Upcoming. But before then, as I mentioned before I hit record, we have a brief that we follow, but it's not written in stone. Todd, I'm going to kick off the first question with Chad, and then by all means jump in. So I'm kind of curious, Chad, what inspired you to start Native Path in the first place? And has that changed? If so, how has it changed since you started the company?
Yeah, what got me down my own path was what I was witnessing in conventional healthcare. So I'll give you an example of what got me asking questions, right? My first internship as a physical therapist was at a hospital in Houston, Texas. And this hospital is world renowned for its treatment in heart disease, right? And when I walked into that hospital on the first day, on the first floor of that heart hospital was a McDonald's, right? A McDonald's. And I would treat patients who would get out of heart surgery. And then they would, as a physical therapist, they would be hungry. They would ask me to take them down to McDonald's to get a Big Mac. And I would go down there and I would see all other patients eating McDonald's, and I would see doctors and nurses. And this was at a time, this is like 20 years ago. I didn't know much about nutrition at the time, but I was an athlete. I knew if I ate bad foods, especially fast food like McDonald's at that time, I knew it wasn't good for my health. I knew it couldn't be good for my heart, right? So I was asking questions, why is a food, why is that this food that could be harming the heart in a heart hospital? So I began questioning things. And when I was in physical therapy school, one of the things they said, no matter what you do, don't go work with chiropractors. Right? They were like, just work under the bubble of a medical doctor. So first thing I did is I went to go work with chiropractors in Austin, Texas, and it opened up my world to different modalities of health. That's where I started treating people with back pain and neck pain. And I started to see patterns, right? I started to see getting into patients' history. When they would go down this path of conventional health, they would often suppress their pain. They would numb their pain. They would
Yeah.
be led to treating symptoms rather than getting to the root cause, right? So for instance, with back pain, patients would say, yeah, you know, I used some patches, I used some cream, I took some Advil, doctor gave me an injection, it got worse, and then I got a surgery, right? And I'm looking at this patient and I'm saying, if we just fix some imbalances in your body.
Yeah.
If we stretch your hamstrings, if we taught you how to move a little better, it would cost very little, and you would actually improve your quality of life. And then I started noticing the money, right? And I started, okay, there's a thing here that if this patient gets addicted to pain pills and ignores the root of the problem, then it could lead to a surgery, right? So I became passionate about my ability as a physical therapist to help people get out of pain naturally. And then around that time, a patient actually introduced me to a man named Weston Price. You guys heard of Weston Price? He was a so fascinating. You can look him up. But he was a dentist in the early part of the 20th century, and he went around the world studying native cultures. And he was able to look at cultures and observe them, and in their natural environment, what they've been eating for hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years, eating, moving, living in a certain way. And then around that time was the introduction of industrialized food, you know, sugar, white flour, toxic fats, things like that, processed food, ultra processed food. He was able to observe the people with the same genetic profile living 20 minutes away who would adopt the modern diet, right? So he was getting a perfect test. And he saw that the people who were eating their native foods, moving their native ways, living in their native environment were virtually free of many of these chronic diseases that we're having today. But the people who had adopted this modern lifestyle, it was going up, right? Everything was going up. So I was seeing this as a patient and like listening to my patients say things and having their doctors say things to them like, it's your genetics. Heart disease runs in your family. There's nothing you can do about it, right? And being treated with symptoms and pills. And I was like, this is just, it's hit me down a whole rabbit hole of wanting to learn more, you know,
I want to learn
really
about that.
going on.
Hey, because you said something that really drew my attention. It sounds like when you're talking about this gentleman, the dentist that was studying the two different cultures effectively right next to each other, one is seemingly, I don't mean to be rude about it, but kind of Stone Age, right? That it's just them and nature kind of thing. And then the other is civilization. One is healthy and the other is not. When you're making your products, do you go back and make them the old-fashioned way? I mean, I have it in my mind that you're, out living with the Indians and, making this stuff in a big cauldron. I don't know. It just, something stuck with me because it seems to me that your journey also kind of led back that direction.
Yeah, it's foundational, right? There's some foundational things to health as a human. You can say it's like the creator, design, whatever.
Sure.
We've been living a certain way, eating a certain way, moving a certain way. There's principles around nutrition and movement, sunshine, sleep, community. There's a thing that's changed with humans in the modern era in the last 100 years, right? The commercialization of the food, the industrialization of the food. So things have been, and our soil, for instance, has changed. Yeah, our soil.
Like the commercialization of the food by itself. There's additives and preservatives, and they're making it in God knows what with plastics and stuff like that. That was kind of where my mind was going. What do you do for your products to not have that commercialized approach?
Yeah, so that's a good way to think about it, right? Because we live in the modern world, the food we eat, it's very much lacking a lot of vitamins and minerals, right? It's lacking in nutrition. For instance, magnesium is not there. And as a consequence, we're also high in toxicity. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of things in there that shouldn't be in there.
High
so when
acid.
we think about our products, exactly. High acid, sugar, red dye, number 5, chemicals. What is this stuff? We don't even know what it is. Our ancestors wouldn't recognize it. As a consequence, they wouldn't recognize a lot of the diseases that we have today. So when we're thinking about our product philosophy, we're thinking about what's missing in our modern diet and how can we supplement to sort of fill in the gaps, right? How can we supplement to fill in the gaps or remove the toxicity or empower something within the body that it removes the toxicity a lot easier so we restore health, right? And doing these things in conjunction with basic, very important principles of being on the path, right? Well, we can get into those later, but that's really that's how I got my start, right? And I became so passionate about educating people about this because I went to people's homes with heart disease and diabetes, and saw Medicare and Medicaid patients. That's a whole other thing. I mean,
And
I've gone into
McDonald's
homes
bags
where
on the counter, right? In the midst
exactly,
of visiting them in their house,
yeah.
like your
I
fast
mean,
food in the corner.
I was looking at it. I'm like, there's $100,000 here coming from Medicare and Medicaid. We're all paying for this, and
Yeah,
nobody's getting better, right? I'd see
yeah,
electric wheelchairs, insulin pumps,
yeah.
along with pink milk and cereals, and children that are obese, and hundreds of thousands of dollars, but no actual getting to the root cause, right? It's the way I would describe what I've witnessed in conventional healthcare is it's kind of like if we came home and we saw an overflowing kitchen sink, right? And there's water going everywhere. What would we do? Would we start mopping up the floor first, or would we like turn off the kitchen sink, right? And we
Turn off
have
the
an
water.
industry that's turn off the water, right?
Yeah,
And we have an industry that's fallen in love with mops. You know,
yeah.
we're not really thinking about getting to the root of the problem. So it's very
True.
inefficient, very ineffective, and I think people are being led down the wrong path, right? So awareness, education. When we started, it was all based on education. We were just
Yeah.
giving out blogs and information commercials saying, "Hey, just try eating clean. What we're saying for 30 days. See how you feel." People would have an amazing experience. We built up an audience of over 2 million people, and then they started
Whoa.
asking, "What supplements do we recommend?"
Yeah.
You know, so that's really how Native Path formed. Is we wanted to create our own brand,
Out of demand.
create highly out of demand, highly efficacious, pure, clean products that people can trust. That,
Very
like I
cool.
said, that sort of fill in the gaps of what's missing
Well,
from this modern diet.
I'm sorry to jump around, but there's another thing I want to get to. Chris, I apologize in advance. But you mentioned several times that a lot of the people in your practice in the earlier days had back problems. And I just know, having been in the
Yeah.
medical industry a long time through my family, that back surgeries never work. They just don't.
Yes.
Are you able to help fix people's backs by just rebalancing their bodies and getting them to do these things using your products and/or your methodologies?
Yes, absolutely. Like if you talk to any good physical therapist who's also a coach who knows about good human movement, they will
Yeah.
tell you the same thing, right? I'll share like why I think most people in the modern world are having back pain. And as I like
Please.
to say, we live in a flexion-based society, right? We're spending a lot of time sitting, and we're
Yeah.
sitting with a forward head and a rounded spine and a forward shoulders,
Yeah.
and our hip flexors are shortened and our hamstrings are tightened, but our discs are always flexing this way, right? And that causes the material in the middle, the annulus of the disc, to start moving posteriorly. And when it moves posteriorly, it starts to press on a nerve, and that puts all kind of pain down there. So generally, what is most effective is going in the opposite direction, is extending the back. Like Robin McKenzie is a great physical therapist who really started this concept, but going the other direction to offset the common position that we're in most of the time, right? As I mean, sitting in a car, working in front of a computer, coming home,
Yeah.
watching TV, always in this position right
Yeah.
here.
You're right.
And then it's central. So we can numb that all we want. We can inject all kinds of shots. We can get all kinds of surgeries. But until we fix this issue, it's just going to keep coming back, right? It's just going to keep coming back. So
I was curious if your products are changing around the body chemistry. Like, I take baking soda and water every day. It keeps my pH high. I feel great. But are you doing electrolytes and all kinds of other things? Are you changing the body chemistry, giving people the nutrients to their backs and things of that nature? Is that a part of this puzzle?
exactly. So what we're getting into here is the structure of the body. We're talking about bones. We're talking about
Yeah.
ligaments, tendons, and our first product and our hero product, even before hydrate, is collagen. So collagen is the most abundant
There you go.
protein in the body. 90% of our body is made up of type 1, type 2 collagen. Everything we're looking at when we're looking at each other is made up of collagen, right? But going back to the modern world and how our diets have changed, we're severely lacking in collagen. And our ancestors, they would get plenty of collagen because of the way they ate. They would eat animals, and they would eat nose
Yeah.
to tail. They would take the bones of that animal and break it down into a broth, and everything was
Yeah.
gelatinous, and they were constantly consuming it. And we live in a world where we're bombarded by carbohydrates and very dehydrated, shelf-long food that's lacking protein, and
Yeah.
it's also lacking collagen, right? So I always say, like, one of the least things we can. I'm a efficient guy. Like one of the least things we can do that makes the most difference in our health is supplement with collagen, because it gives us those amino acids and building blocks that improve the structure of our body. A lot of people come to us looking to improve their bone health and their bone density. A lot of people dealing with back pain and herniated disc and knee pain and things like that. They get better because the structure of the body, it's now getting what it needs. And collagen has an amazing intelligence. It doesn't go like when you consume it, it doesn't go to random areas in the body. It goes specifically to the areas that are damaged to help rebuild that thing. And as we age, our body produces less and less collagen. That starts around the age of 20. We produce it endogenously, but it's really important that we start supplementing.
Chris, you hear that?
As we get older.
Yeah.
As we get older.
As we get older. Man, I'm feeling it.
Chris and I are the same age. We sit here and commiserate in our old age. Okay, so collagen number one. That's what I'm buying right now.
Well, my wife has been consuming copious amounts of collagen for years.
She looks good.
Yeah, and she looks 10 years younger than I do, easily.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm sorry to divert. I just find this subject matter is fascinating. I appreciate your approach to this. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Great. Yeah. I mean, it's a good time to be talking about this stuff too, because there's so much happening with conversations around the past 100 years and this rise in chronic disease and diabetes.
The Rockefeller rise, right? The
Rockefeller rise, yeah.
They take over medicine and they make it all bad for us. Right, feeding cancer with chemotherapy, giving it food, otherwise known as radiation. It's mind-bending to me that we've all been fooled into this paradigm with a curriculum prepared by Rockefellers, the guys that make drugs from waste products of oil. I mean, do I have that right?
That's totally right. And the entire curriculum for medical doctors, the way it's come, the way it is from what you're talking about right there. And there's doctors who even tell you they got little to no nutrition.
They got hosed. Yes.
I mean, while they're in medical school, right?
Doc, this is the conversation we were having before you came on. And I was like, well, in my experience, and I don't mean to be rude because I've got a lot of doctors that I work with and whatnot, but I find that the chiropractors have really been the champions of trying to find the cures. And I find that the medical doctors tend to be the ones that focus on treatment. You're talking cure.
Right. And that's something to do with the structure of the system. When I was in medical school, when I was in physical therapy school, and they told me not to work with chiropractors, what they were telling me to do was go work under the bubble and do exactly what I'm told to do. Right. And that's essentially the way that a lot of medical doctors up to this point are operating. There's a lot of medical doctors coming out now, starting their own private practices, doing something outside of the box. But if you're in the system, it's follow the rules and just treat the symptom with this pill and just keep doing what you're doing, and that's it, right? And a chiropractor has free range. They have direct access to the patients. A physical therapist has to get a referral from a medical doctor in order to see a patient, right? Or we can get one from a chiropractor. But chiropractors generally, they got free range. They can do what they want to do. So it's really important that they have that freedom. And physical therapists are also still trying to have that freedom. That's why many physical therapy programs now, almost all of them are also doctor of physical therapy programs and not just a master's program. We're trying to fight for that.
A few notes that I wrote down while y'all were talking, just to state the obvious. We don't have health care. We've got sick care because of, the money that's involved in all of it. And speaking of money, so I'm not sure if y'all caught this or not, but those are two different covers to the same article. And
what? Yes, I saw this.
Yeah. So Todd, the cover on the left was the original release by Time Magazine.
Wow.
And they had so many complaints from their advertisers, Big Pharma, Big Food, that they had to change it to the second cover and change the entire content.
Holy smokes. Wow. Talk about proving your point.
So it's the power of influence.
Yeah. The emperor has no clothes, right? When we see things like that. So the next part to that is just some interesting numbers. During an election year, the mainstream media make 50% of their revenues from big pharma. In non-election years, 70% of their revenue is from big pharma.
70.
Wow.
70%. So when RFK says we're going to stop advertising for big pharma, that's going to have dramatic effects on the mainstream media. So let's go one step further. The mainstream media has a lower level of support than Congress has. We're talking single-digit support numbers, right? So depending on the age group, because it varies by demographic, but citizen journalists are having an increasingly larger share of the conversation. More people are trusting them, right? So, in other words, people under 30 years old, over 50% of the news that they get are from online podcasts, influencers, creators, whatever you want to call them. By the time you get into your 60s, we still have quite a few people in their 60s who were born and raised to trust the system, right? We trust big media, we trust doctors, we trust everybody, sort of thing. But when you take all of that into consideration as far as where we're going, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole in the election really, but the biggest pivot that the Trump campaign made this year in the election was ignoring the mainstream media. You know, he knew he was just going to get roasted on the mainstream media and turned his attention to who? Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, you know, these new citizen journalists. And clearly, and clearly it paid dividends. So at
that's
the end
because we all abandoned commercial media. I think that the Great Awakening is, holy crap, we've been lied to our whole lives. Everything we think we know is wrong. So now everybody's coming to the alt media, going to you, Doc, looking for the truth. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you're telling us, right? Is that you found the truth of the matter. I mean, that's what all any of us really want. And what you're saying is that truth goes back to nutrition. Chris, sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, keep talking. I've got something else I want to pull up after he answers your question.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
I mean, I would see this all the time when I would go into people's homes who were dealing with chronic diseases and watch them watch TV. And I would sit there and watch them watch pharmaceutical commercials.
Oh, my God.
They would sit there. The commercials would be like, eat McDonald's, take this pill. Eat McDonald's,
Pfizer,
take this
for
pill.
you.
and this is all they're seeing. It's all they're thinking. And they're in that box. And I'm just like, this is maddening. And I look around their house and I see really bad food. And I see an obese nurse come in and inject them with insulin. And we're not getting anywhere. And there would be times where I would actually talk to patients about nutrition. And then I will get a call from someone else in the health world, conventional health world, say, don't do that. Just follow orders. Tell them about exercise and this is the problem, and I have to do something outside of the system. You know,
oh, man, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a broken system, but we're repairing it. I mean, the way the election went, and all this attention being brought to the food industry and what's going on, and you know, I think we're one of two countries that even allow pharmaceutical commercials, like us in New Zealand.
That's correct.
And we're the sickest country.
And the cool part is that, you know, as Big Pharma and the rest of these guys scared the crap out of Americans that they were going to destroy our world, destroy our economy, everybody started buying local. Everybody said, okay, I guess I better fix it. We've got 6, you know, like lettuce grow things in our house. We're growing our own produce. So, I mean, and that was a change of exactly what it is you're describing. And so anyway, I'm kind of chuffed this worked out this way.
Yeah, so in the same vein, I'm assuming that you two probably caught this, but it's worth bringing up anyway. Let me just share my screen quickly. So did y'all catch the kerfuffle with the New York Times over the ingredients of Fruit Loops? And
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
is this what comparing the United States and Canada, Fruit Loops?
Correct. Yes.
Tell me. I missed it.
Okay. So RFK made a comment that when you go outside of America, the same food product has way less ingredients because they're not allowed to put all these different things into it. Right?
Yeah.
So he specifically made mention, as Dr. Chad noted, Fruit Loops in Canada versus Fruit Loops in the United States.
Oh, dear Lord.
What the New York Times basically said was actually they have a very similar number of ingredients, and RFK was wrong on this. The difference is that in Canada, they used blueberries and carrots, if memory serves me right, for the coloring. And in America, we use red dye this, blue dye that has all these other health issues related with it. And then there was some drug, I believe the acronym or chemical, I should say, BHT, which supposedly enhances the shelf life of a product. Well, when the New York Times published this is just last weekend. I mean, it was unbelievable the backlash that they got from it, because people are like it's pretty obvious that you're bought and paid for by big interest, because you're haggling over a couple ingredients as far as the total count, but you're not pointing out the fact that it's poison here and not poison there.
Wow. The fact that people rose up and said, New York Times, you're wrong, they got fact checked. Yes. That is freaking cool.
Yeah, it's a transparent society now. We can't do that anymore.
Love it.
And I think one of the biggest things that's promoted that is the community notes that Elon put on X. So unlike the fake fact checks, which were getting put out there in the prior version when it was Twitter, now people can come along and leave community notes that get upvoted, downvoted, and really tell the truth at the end of the day. There's no escaping it, which is why I think there's been a pretty big exodus of people on the other side of the equation going to blue sky. Blue sky is like the old Twitter now, right? Where everything's locked down hard. You can't question any narratives. If you do,
I thought that was the golden sickle and hammer on the red flag.
They changed their name to Blue Sky.
I love it. Hey, Doc, collagen. I'm sorry, I interrupted you because I wanted to hear that. Collagen. What are your other products? What do you do?
Oh gosh, we have magnesium, probiotics. We have a lion's mane mushroom product. We have a protein product coming out. Yeah, I think we have over 40 products now in different forms. We have a greens product. We have chocolate, vanilla of almost every flavor. And our hydrate's another one of our main products. Krill is a great product for it. You can see them all there. Reducing inflammation we're big on krill. Matcha is a great afternoon energy drink.
I like matcha.
Turmeric. MCT, if you haven't put MCT powder in your coffee with collagen, with a little bit of butter and blend it up, it just makes it amazing. So you can see here, all these products here are kind of under that philosophy of getting humans back on the path, filling in the gaps with the vitamins and minerals they need, or getting rid of some toxicity they may have within the body because of the modern world, right?
Okay, so I want to ask you from a personal point of view. I'm eating commercial food. Just let's make that assumption. And all of a sudden, I want to get younger, better looking like you. Do I just buy everything and just start going? How do you start? All that kind of stuff. Because I really would. I'd just buy it all and just start eating it all. Is that the right way to go about it?
That's one thing you could do, but I wouldn't encourage you to do that, right? The first thing I would encourage you to do is take care of the basics. Our products are to supplement a healthy lifestyle. We generally want you to be thinking about whole, real food and the principles of good health, and these products are to help supplement that, right? So one thing we say, you don't want to supplement your way out of a bad diet. Let's try to get that first. But the big things that are going to move the big things that are going to move the needle the most are things like collagen and hydrate and krill, right? Because you're fixing like the big issues right there. Collagen, like I said, is going to help build up the structure of your body, your tendons, your ligaments, your hair, your teeth, your nails, all those things. It's also something that most people are incredibly deficient in. So when you fix that, you'll start seeing all kinds of improvements in your health, particularly your physiological health, the things that hold you together. And krill, I love, is one thing that'll make the most difference because it's helping you decrease inflammation, right? And inflammation is something you hear about it. Yeah, and it's one of the better sources of omega-3s because it's more bioavailable than, say, typical fish oil, right? It comes in a phospholipid layer, which can be found in the human body. So it makes the omega-3s, the EPA, DHA, and krill oil, it allows it to get in your cells a lot better. And that decreases inflammation. When you decrease inflammation, you start fixing a whole lot of issues with your health.
Well, I know that's true. And what I'm hearing out of that is really fascinating because a lot of people have got gut issues now for the very reasons you described, whether that's the shots or whatever, the gut biota are gone. If you are having inflamed digestive parts, your digestive system is inflamed, Does krill help solve that so you can start getting the other nutrients in? Because if you have an inflamed digestive tract, a lot of people aren't absorbing anything.
Yeah, krill will help with the areas of your gut that are inflamed. What could also help is our good quality probiotics. We have a probiotic as well that has 9 different strains in it. It wants the microbiome wants a very diversified flora, good microbiome, healthy, good bacteria. It also wants the gut, like actual tissue, to be intact. So a lot of people have damaged guts because of toxic fats, eating gut irritating foods, lots of gluten, and all of that can really irritate the gut lining. So to heal and seal the gut lining, and collagen is also good for that because it supplies the building blocks that help heal and seal. So collagen and krill and probiotics would all be good things, along with focusing on like whole real food, particularly protein, like focusing on things that do not irritate the gut, but give you lots of vitamins and minerals.
I'm with you on that. I'm a first class carnivore.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
I mean, well, and because we come to find we were also lied to about this whole idea about lean meat. You can't produce insulin without animal fat. You got to eat it. Yes. And I love it.
You have to have it. Have you ever seen the show Alone? You ever seen the Survivor? Like they go in the wilderness, right? And you can see what really matters to life. Like they're not looking for berries out there. They're looking for protein and fat. Yes. Yeah, you can see what's essential. And I see so many people who you feel better. And I see so many people who have gut issues or any kind of health issue, and they just focus on protein and carnivore diet, and
they're avoiding cholesterol, which is the worst thing you can do. Right? You need the cholesterol too. That's where that comes from, right?
Yes, cholesterol is a repair mechanism. Right. And it's like a hormone that we need it to help repair a lot of damage that's done. And oftentimes, people are thinking about cholesterol as it's the culprit, but it's a correlate.
Exactly. They lied to us. They told us everything we should be doing is the wrong thing. So that's what you're adding in here. At the end of the day, you're giving us the good stuff, not the lie.
Right, not the lie. And we've been getting a lot of bad information, and that information sounds like eat a whole grain diet, right? Eat vegetable oils, count your calories, and then take this pill. Because if we do those things, we're gonna get sick. Like that's not what humans have been doing our ancestors weren't doing that, right? And I'm not saying like our ancestors had it all right, but there's principles of what humans are designed for that we can learn so much there, and we can try it out in the modern world. We can test it. For instance, like you're testing the carnivore diet, and you're like, oh, now I know.
Feel great. Yeah.
I feel great. I'm sleeping better. I got better energy, and you can share about your experience. So like there's more truth coming out during this time, and we're questioning what we were told before. This is all getting back on the path. Right, getting back on the path of what humans are designed for is what we're here to do.
My wife is hardcore carnivore. I would be 90% myself. But have you noticed that there's been a run lately on tallow now that people are becoming aware of this? So when RFK mentioned the evils of seed oils, there's a whole campaign of people who are clearly being compensated. They're chugging seed oils, which seriously disgusting. But you've got other people, Terrence, what's his name? He's the black influencer that has the pancakes. Can't recall his last name. It'll come to me in a second. He's swapped out all the seed oils for tallow now on everything. Nice. And so now there's lots of reports online of people unable to find tallow who normally go and get it because there's a run on this stuff because the truth is getting out.
The truth.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's.
I'm going to back us up just a little bit. Sorry, Chris.
No, you're good, Todd. I love it.
No, because I love this subject matter, and you get an expert in front of you who knows what they're talking about. I'm going to take advantage of that, and I apologize to you both for that.
No apology necessary.
Right.
You should have the doc on Truth Be Told.
Seriously. Well, I intend to do that. Not only that, I'm going to go and buy all of his stuff, and then I'm going to test it out for myself. We use lion's mane now as a addition to our morning coffee, and and my wife gets a lot of benefit out of it. I get a lot of energy out of it. I don't know what it is that it is you're selling, but I'm a fan of lion's mane.
Yeah. So lion's mane is great for the cognition in the brain. And if you look under the ground, the way mycelium work, the way mushrooms work, it's like
Yeah.
an underground brain. It's like a network, right?
Yeah.
We're getting, just like with collagen, how we're supplying the body with a lot of the raw materials that it needs to function. You know, when we're taking in lion's mane, for instance, we're doing the same thing with the brain, and we're creating the raw materials that the brain needs for connectivity and
Yeah.
memory and focus and cognition and things like that.
I think Chris was being polite to me by saying I'm going to get you on my podcast so he can finish his. I'll shut up now.
No, not at all. That wasn't it at all. I was just going to say, Todd, like, I've been drinking BCAAs for years,
Yeah.
chain amino acids, right? And a lot of the products out there don't taste good. They use, some crazy sweetener that's made out of Lord knows what. It leaves a bad aftertaste. This is the doctors. They sent me a whole box of this 7 weeks ago. And that's my very last one. I can tell you, first and foremost, it tastes great. So I'm not drinking something if it tastes like crap.
Yeah. I choke down stuff all the time. So
I know you do. That's what I was just going to point out. I'm not that disciplined. If it tastes like crap, I'm not going to consume it. This stuff tastes great. Bottom line is I took this for a while before we said anything to our audience with regards to Native Path.
Well, that's how you roll.
We've had products before and they promise the moon and they don't deliver, but you can order all the stuff you want. He loaded me up. I've got collagen.
Sweet.
I've got krill.
Okay. Hang on. Stop with the collagen and krill. Do either of them taste bad?
No.
Okay, those are the ones I want.
Yeah, it's flavorless.
Collagen's odorless and tasteless.
But hang on, I've got collagen at home, and I swear to God, it smells like a cow's backside.
Yeah, So this
hard
comes
to get
down
down.
to the quality. Yeah, this is
Okay.
the quality thing. And like
Somebody's
one of the
going
things we
behind the
talk about-
cow and catching. Anyway, yeah, I got it. Okay.
Well, it is the cow. It's the way the cow was raised. So
yeah,
they take cows, they'll put them in China, right? And they'll put them in a dirt lot, and they'll just give them like grains.
Grain them
and
up.
cows aren't meant to eat grains. They'll fatten them up. They'll give them hormones. They'll give them antibiotics, and it comes out to this like yellowy, smelly collagen, and it doesn't mix
I know
well,
exactly what
tastes
you're
bad.
talking about.
And so the purity standard, like our products, we start with purity, and we start with excellence and efficacy, right? It has to come from a good source. We're talking cows they're out eating grass, they're raising over pastures, they're drinking
Getting
water,
massages.
they're not giving all this. They're treated very well. It's a win-win situation. So that's what we want. But that creates a product that it's tasteless, odorless. It's just clean.
Got it.
And then we also get everything inspected by a third party in Dallas. It's a good manufacturing practice facility.
Oh, it's
Looking for
GMP.
mold.
Wow.
GMP facility. Everything is
Those are high
tested
standards.
Exactly. So we really believe in that. And we start with purity. We make sure it's good.
Beautiful.
Well, that's interesting because I was going to ask you, when you're coming up with products, like what's the process look for as far as everything from scientific research, what problems you're trying to solve? I'm just curious what the development process really is like. Maybe walk us through, what, just because I've been praising this BCAA mix. Tell me what the process was here. How did this go from idea to actually having the product on the market?
Yeah, so we have these what we call pillars of being on the path, right? There's 5 of them. It's nutrition. What we mean is whole real food. Second one is hydration, and we have sleep and movement and sunshine. So we look at those things right there. And if a human just does those things, and we can go into detail, meaning eat whole real food, prioritize protein, eat good fats with nutrition, movement we can get into. But when it comes to things like sleep, sunshine, we have vitamin D, we have collagen PM. And then we get to this hydration thing. We recognize the hydration is one of the key things that if you fix that, if you just take care of your hydration, if you start absorbing it better, if you're drinking enough and stopping all the things that do dehydrate you, you can radically improve your health in many different areas because hydration is such a big needle mover, right? And most Americans are severely dehydrated. Over 75% of Americans are dehydrated. And it's because, like a lot of reasons, coming back to food, a lot of the food that we're eating is actually dry food. It's got long shelf life. It's got no water in there, right? But if you look at like a steak, it actually has water in there. If you look at an apple, broccoli, there's water in there. when we're eating whole real food. So we're dehydrated because of food. We're also dehydrated because we drink a lot of liquids that do dehydrate us, the diuretics like coffee, alcohol. That's another thing. Red drinks, things like that. That's going to further dehydrate us. And the last thing is, even when we try to drink water, most people aren't absorbing that water very well because they're just drinking straight water.
Yes.
And one of the things that helps you absorb water is putting a little pinch of salt in your water, right? Mm-hmm. So we recognize that salt is very important in helping us absorb water. I myself was taking electrolytes, and I'm a gym rat. You know, every time I go to the gym, I was taking electrolytes. And like you, Chris, I would always have BCAAs with my electrolytes because I'm trying to improve recovery, and I know it's good for muscle health. We have a team of researchers, and we started looking like branched chain amino acids and electrolytes together, like what's going on. And we found these studies from the military that show the combination of the amino acids with the electrolytes actually helps you further absorb those electrolytes and further absorb the water. And we recognize muscle health is so important. So as we age, function all relies on muscle health, by the way, like the ability to get up and out of a chair, walk down the street. It's muscle health.
Sit up straight.
And it's so important.
So are you suggesting that taking Ozempic, which is very catabolic, is a bad thing?
Yes.
It's crazy.
We
just sit there and we become Wally World after that, man.
It should have a black box warning, shouldn't it? I mean, as I understand it, it's kind of what we come to find is that the drugs are full of poison.
All kinds. I've yet to find like a drug where there's a free lunch. There's always a biological cost down the road somewhere. There's good short-term benefits to it, but we have to be aware like there's a long-term cost almost every time.
Well, and it begs the question. I'm sorry to divert here a little bit. It begs the question: what is a drug when you define it? So I prescribe to the theory that God gave us all the things we need to survive and live happy, joyful lives. And some people find use in cannabis or parts of it, and I don't look at that as a drug. You know, I think that it's a freaking plant that people have eaten or used or made rope out of for, ages, since dawn of time. So it sounds to me that that's effectively what it is you're doing. You're taking collagen and lion's mane mushrooms, all of these other kinds of things, God's gifts to us, combining and packaging them and then giving them to us. That is really cool. That's what I really love to see.
That's right. Yeah, we always like to say we try to source and keep things as close to nature as we possibly can, right? As we possibly can, because there are some non-functional fillers that have to happen in there to bind, so we can actually send it to you and it doesn't spoil. But everything is as close to nature as it can possibly be.
Yeah, that's intellectually honest.
Yeah. So, pardon me for oversimplifying, but Todd will tell you if I'm guilty of anything, it's always simplifying stuff.
That's a good thing.
Basically, hydration is one of those 5 pillars, and you created the NativeHydrate BCAA stuff to address that pillar. Is at the end of the day, electrolytes, chain amino acids. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah.
When we've promoted it on Survival Dispatch News, I've come at it from the angle that if you drink this product, which tastes good, and you're not drinking sodas and Cokes, it can have a radically, positive effect on your life. And you're not giving up something, it doesn't taste bad. It tastes good. And you're getting all the health benefits that go with that. And I even, in my mind, think back to, human growth hormone has 191 amino acids in it. And one of the things that RFK, which is interesting because I saw it on one of your labels here. Yeah, right there. Peptides. RFK is going to legalize research chemicals, peptides. And most people don't know what peptides are. And all they are is different manipulations of those amino acids that come from growth hormone, right? And so when I explain it to our audience, the way I put it is that it tastes good. It has, tangible side effects that you'll notice. You will feel better and you will go to the bathroom less times by drinking this. And here's why it's important to Survival Dispatch and our audience. And it's not just about Survival Dispatch, but Todd, you've met Mike Glover from Fieldcraft Survival, super famous guy. So really famous Green Beret, Chad. Actually, I've got him on Survival Dispatch News tonight. And I was shooting a TV show with him. We were both on Surviving Man, which is Don Man, SEAL Team 6, blah, blah, blah. And I said to Mike, I said, Mike, you've been in this survival world much longer than I have. I have a quick question for you with regards to our audience. And he said, hit me with it. And here we go back to simplifying things. I said, well, in my opinion, the survival audience want to learn as long as it's not a heavy lift with a sprinkling of entertainment. And he started laughing and he said, that's the best description I've heard of it. I've since come to actually think that the majority of all of our audiences, Todd's audience is different than my audience. Todd is the highbrow stuff. And yet I would still argue that the majority of Americans want to learn, but not if it's a heavy lift. There's only a certain percentage of people who will engage in that stuff that's a heavier lift. So why do I mention that? The best thing you could do from a survival perspective, and we're not doomsday preppers. So when we tell people they should prep, you should prep for whatever the most likely thing is wherever you live. If you live here in Florida, you should prep for hurricanes. If you live in Oklahoma, you should be prepared for tornadoes. If you live in Southern California, you should be, prepared for wildfires, those sort of things. But if we were to get on our high horse and say to our audience, look, you need to exercise X amount of hours per day, and you need to eat this diet, which is a 4-letter word, they immediately tune out. We haven't done it. We've observed other people doing it and their numbers fall off a cliff. But if we can go to our audience and say, look, do whatever you can do based on your station in life. And like you said, movement is so key, right? Our bodies were not designed to be sedentary. So I'll say to people, look, even if it's just a matter of walking around the block, that's better than not doing anything. Yeah. This is not about competing, at a super high level, but we're back to products like this. You're going to drink something. You're going to be thirsty. This tastes good, has good side effects, has no bad side effects like Coke. And so here's your easy lift. If you really want to improve your station in life, here's an easy way to do it without busting your ass. That's the way we present.
Beautiful.
I love that, Chris. I mean, when it comes to survival, one of the things I always say is, in terms of priorities, I say we can go 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, right? So you could say hydration to your life, to your survival is up at the top besides breathing, right? So the quality of that, how well we absorb it, like you said, getting rid of the other stuff that's not good for us, bringing this in to help you absorb more water. It tastes great. It's easy to do, and the benefits, like it's a big needle mover to your muscle strength, to your balance, to your respiration. You mentioned bladder health. Because we're absorbing things a lot better, we're able to retain it. So people stop having the leaks and waking up at the middle of the night. So you sleep better. So you have better energy. It's helpful for your organs, your brain health, lubricating your joints. Right, a little thing that makes a huge difference in your overall health. It is good hydration, and this helps you do it.
I mean, so you're an athlete. Todd is super active. And I think it's safe that we could all say that the older we get, the longer it takes to recover from anything. Doesn't matter what it is, right? And, if you think back to World War II, when the Germans were trying to engineer the ultimate soldier, they invented synthetic testosterone. And they wanted their troops to be able to carry a 100-pound rucksack for 100 miles. That was the goal. Obviously, they didn't get to it, but that's where they set the goal at. So when people start discussing performance-enhancing drugs and you tell them, look, it's all just derivatives of testosterone that have had the anabolic and androgenic components slightly modified, you can fill somebody full of those performance-enhancing drugs. If they don't do any activity, they will gain precisely nothing from it. Those drugs can't turn you into something that you're not. What they do is allow you to recover faster. The faster you recover, the more frequently you can train. The more frequently you can train, the more work you can put in. The more work you can put in, the more you advance, sort of thing, right? So I'm not advocating the use of performance-enhancing drugs. I'm using it as an extreme example. But we already know that whether it's the branched-chain amino acids you're putting in a drink like this versus research chemicals, which are peptides, which you have in your collagen as well, what do all those things do? They speed up the healing process, the recovery process.
Well, I wanted to add to that too, the krill. I haven't seen what that looks like yet, but if that's an anti-inflammatory, how many people can walk away from handfuls of ibuprofen and acetaminophen?
Exactly.
Just destroys your body. And krill
Yeah.
will do that. I've used bromelain, by the way. That has some good benefits to me, but I didn't know krill was a anti-inflammatory. What does that look like? Do you have that one, Chris?
I don't know if I
Handy?
do or not. I don't think so. I think krill was coming in another order, is my recollection.
So
We'll get
is that in
krill.
a powder, Doc? How do we take your krill?
No, it's a small little capsule, right? It's a
Just
small
a
little capsule,
capsule.
and it's protected so you don't get like the fish burps. You know, a lot of people when they take
Yeah.
regular fish oil, they get the fish burps.
Mhm.
But you're exactly right. Like the over-the-counter pain medications that people are taking come with a
Yeah.
long list of side effects. And going
Yeah.
back to gut health, it
Yes.
destroys our gut, right? And then people end up taking it and they get inflamed and more pain if they start taking
Exactly.
chronic
It's a cycle.
Advil and ibuprofen. It's a cycle. And
Yeah.
right there is a perfect example of why we do native products, because we want to get to the root of the problem and stop the thing that's causing the thing and get you back on.
Makes
You
sense.
would normally be getting healthy omega-3s in a native diet. It would be part of that, right? When you eat a cow coming from grass-fed sources, it's high
Yeah.
in omega-3. When you eat a chicken coming from a natural environment, it's high in omega-3. But in our modern world, we've got a lot of toxic fats. We've got animals grown in poor environments, very high in omega-6 fat that in abundance can be very toxic to the
Yeah.
body. So that krill oil brings in healthy omega-3s and lowers inflammation and decreases your risk for all kinds of diseases.
So if I wanted to get your krill product, it comes in capsules. How many capsules do I take, and what is a bottle of that? One capsule a day does
Just
the
one.
job? Holy
Just one
smokes.
capsule a day. Yeah, just
So it
one
comes in a
capsule a day
pack
and
of what,
consistently.
30 in a pack, or what is it? How's it come?
I think it has 60 in there. We've gone back and yeah, it depends on where we're at with our inventories. So we have
Sure.
one bottle that has 30, another one has 60, but it's definitely enough to last you a month. But you don't need
So,
krill's not something you need to take 2 capsules or 3 capsules a day. Just one is fine.
well, that's helpful to me. And then in your 5 pillars, do you have, like a super pre-selected group of products that you're making that meet some of those? I mean, obviously you haven't bottled Sunshine yet, but we have vitamin D. Do you,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, how do you do that? Do you sell packages that here's your starter pack kind of a thing? 'Cause frankly, that's what I need. I can't spend the time thinking too much about it. I just want to give me what I need, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good idea is for us to start a starter pack. We've done occasional bundles, but
Yeah, that's what I'm looking
typically
for.
the way we present our products is we generally just focus on one. But if people want to move around and they were
Yeah.
gonna do a starter pack, I would start with collagen and krill and hydrate. Those would be the main
Good.
3 that no matter
Okay.
what I
That's
would
what I'm
do,
after.
and start there.
All right. And listen, that's what I'm telling you. Sell me a starter pack. That's what I need. And in
All
fact,
right,
sell me 3 of them. One for my wife and I, and the other one's going mother-in-law. So
great, great.
absolutely, man. That'd be great. Love it.
So you mentioned the native diet, and I just wanted to touch on that quickly as far as how I explain this to people that maybe haven't studied the human body and haven't done any of these improvements and whatnot. So Todd knows when I competed, which was for many, many years, I started in 1982. I competed in the 181, 198, 220, 242, 275 class. And when you compete at a world-class level, you have to cut an entire weight class between Monday and Friday and then put it back on within 24 hours.
Holy
so
smokes.
if you're competing 198, you walk around at 225. Monday morning, you're 225 pounds. Friday morning, it's 24-hour weigh, and you weigh in at 198.4 because that's 90 kilograms. And the next day, you're back to 225. And so once you get past 40, it's really, really hard to recover, number one. Number two, for someone, my height, to go from 181 to 275 is pretty radical. So I didn't look like your regular power lifter. In many instances, I look like a bodybuilder. So I trained for years beside Ronnie Coleman. That's my home gym, Metroflex in Arlington, Texas. That's me in the ball cap there. And so that was competing at 198, and I weighed 220 there, but I was competing 198 class. I look like Google Maps when I cut the fat out. I get super ultra vascular, and people would ask me what my diet looked like. And I would tell them, well, it's basically 45% protein, 45% fat, and 10% low glycemic value carbs. And they'd be like, there's no way that you eat that much fat and look like that. And I've gone in the dunk tank before and come out less than 4% body fat, so visceral and subcutaneous fat.
Holy smokes.
And I had to, the way I always explained it to them, and this ties in now with the carnivore diet that everybody's realizing is really good. How many overweight Native Americans did you see before the white man came and brought sugar and alcohol?
Yeah.
How much of their diet was fat? Like 50%? It was a massive number, right?
As much as they could get, right?
Correct.
That's the point, because it gives you longevity.
So
wow.
Again, you keep in mind, I'm a college dropout. I'm like the Forrest Gump of the business world, so I have to distill things down. I tell people,
Thank God.
If you look at the 1980s, when big pharma and big food bought and paid for all the Congress critters and had them go on the war on fat, and they took fat out of everything. When you take fat out of food, it tastes like crap. So you got to put sugar in it to make it taste better. Sugar's processed the exactly same way as cocaine, identical. There's no difference in the processing.
Didn't know that.
And it also lights up the cerebral cortex just like cocaine does. So it's highly addictive. So then you end up with all the other benefits that you two could discuss, as far as like eating sugar, blood sugar goes up, falls off a cliff. How do you get it back up? Well, you got to eat again. And you're in this endless loop
sugar.
of you're consuming massive amounts of sugar. But it was always really hard for me to try to communicate to people, look, I can go sub 4% body fat and eat 50% of my diet is fat. But they've been so programmed by this war on fat for all these years, it just wouldn't square for them. When in reality, fat's not the enemy at all.
Yeah, they made a mistake. They shouldn't have called it fat. They should have called it muscle or something. They should have called it something else. It's because it's so confusing and creates this image of, if I eat fat, it'll clog my arteries and give me heart disease, and that's not actually what's happening.
Same thing with salt. I mean, they tried to convince us all that salt is going to kill us, but we're made of what? Saline solution. It's absurd.
Right. Yeah. I keep my eye on stats, like interesting, like in 1970, 10% of the population was obese. And now in 2024, 74% of the people are overweight or obese. And it's a big part of it, Chris, where you're talking about the changes in the food guidelines. Yeah. Cigarette companies started buying up food companies around that time. Yeah. And they took their scientists that were getting people addicted to cigarettes and had them addicted to food, right? Yep. With sugar, with all these things that trigger the brain into thinking like, I just can't have enough. I gotta keep eating more. They create a customer for life.
I gotta tell you, I live in the Caribbean. We have a 70% of adults in the Caribbean have type 2 diabetes. Right? That didn't happen naturally. And you go back 20 years ago, it's a small fraction of that. So what changed? And it goes back to just what you're talking about. This was an intentional plans. We've got to recognize this truth for what it is and then adjust. Yeah. I'm really excited you've got these things that you figured out. So congratulations to you for figuring this out. And it's really cool the way that you came upon it. It's observations and pragmatism and simply logic that worked out for you. So I'm really grateful that you're sharing this with us. And for sure, collagen, the hydrate, and the krill order will be coming in a moment.
So before we wrap up, Todd, good point on all the things the doctors covered. But if you could tie this in, so you spend a lot of time in the gym, you're focused on physical activity. How do your products fit into your own personal routine? Just there you go. I just want to see how it ties together.
Yeah. Well, so those three are the main ones I take. I don't take all of them, but I wake up early. I'm a 5 a.m. riser. I like to wake up, drink a big glass of water, and what I'll do there is put the hydrate in it. Right, taking the hydrate at the beginning of the day is really nice because you've just gone a whole 8 hours if you slept that long without having any liquid. So we typically wake up dehydrated. So I like to have a little bit in there when I wake up in the morning. I'll do some breath work in the morning. I'll stretch around a little bit. I'll come back and I'll have some coffee. And I typically have coffee as I'm watching the sun rise. I love to be outside and get my eyes connected to the light because it really boosts cortisol and helps with sleep throughout the day.
The S in your 5 pillars.
This is the 5 pillars, exactly. And that's where I put in collagen. And in my coffee, I've also put in collagen and MCT and a little butter, and I put all that in a blender. And if you haven't tried that, it sounds weird. But these good fats and collagen, the amino acids from collagen, good fats from MCT and butter to start your day, will fix all your cravings.
I apologize to you. What's the NCT? You mentioned that before, but I don't know what that means. What is NCT?
It's medium chain triglycerides, right? And ours are derived from coconut. Yep. And it comes in powder form, right? And that provides your body with a good source of fat. And as Chris was saying, it's a game with blood sugar, right? So when we give ourselves that good fat, we don't get a huge spike in blood sugar at the beginning of the day and then a crash 2 hours later and keeping us on this up and down cycle, which makes us insulin, resistant, and all kinds of things happen, right? So protein and fat, collagen and MCT, and a little bit of butter to start my day. I'll typically go work out. And when I do work out, I'll also add a little bit of another thing of hydrate, like another scoop of hydrate. Typically, if it's a workout, I'm sweating a lot, I want to have electrolytes when I'm working out. I forgot to say, I'll also have some krill at the beginning of the day with that big glass of water. So I'll have the hydrate and I'll wash it down. I'll have the krill and I'll wash it down with hydrate water. And then I'm getting the collagen and the MCT pretty early in the morning. And then the other thing I will do is before bed, about 2 hours before bed, I'll take our magnesium supplement. It's called Native Balance. It also has ashwagandha. And magnesium is great for helping you relieve stress, helping your body get into a calm state. It's also helpful for helping you absorb everything else in your body, right? It's like I like to say it's like a primer on a wall. Before you paint the wall, you put on the primer, and it allows you to have good paint and stay on there a long time. Yeah. Magnesium is very foundational. It's something that we're mostly deficient in because our topsoil, because of commercialized farming, we've stripped the soil from nutrients. It's not in our food like it used to be. So even if I ate a perfect diet, I wouldn't be getting enough magnesium. So I consider that a very important thing to supplement with.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when people, appear in the E room with a heart attack, they jab them with a great giant syringe full of magnesium, right, to get your electrical systems working again.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that. I haven't seen it, but I have heard of that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, as you were talking there, Doc, I was thinking to myself how, like Monsanto in particular, one of their strains of seeds is specifically engineered to grow in soil that's contaminated with aluminum oxide. And I'm not sure of all the sources, but I've read that a lot of farmers' fields are contaminated with aluminum oxide. And if you plant normal seeds in them, they will not grow. You have to have these GMO seeds.
My Lord.
Growing this type of stuff. So, I mean, just in my mind, not being a scientist or a doctor, I'm thinking to myself, well, if there's aluminum oxide in the ground and it takes a special seed to grow in the ground, how much of that's actually coming through in the form of whatever the crop is that we're eating? You know what I mean? Like it's my wife is the expert on this stuff far more so than myself. Like I had no idea till she mentioned it that grass fed's not good enough. It needs to be grass finished. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Grass finished.
And she says, well, when they advertise beef or something that it was grass fed, that just means for a portion of their life. They finished it with grains and all the other stuff that you're trying to avoid. Yeah. And I was like, just another lie on behalf of big food, really.
Yeah.
Not the farmers, but big food. So you mentioned McDonald's at the beginning. I don't know I'm sure y'all saw the picture of RFK, Don Jr., Don Trump, and Elon on playing with their McDonald's, right? And Don Jr. made a joke out of it. He says, make America healthy again starts tomorrow because they're having McDonald's. Well, somebody from the Dilly meme team took it and did this with it. You guys will get a kick out of this. Just because you mentioned this, I have to share it.
Elon with the space hair, Trump's got the flare, bucket jack with a Big Mac high up in the air. DJ spinning like a compass, RFK Jr. Well raising up the rumpus. Plane shaking, turbulence ain't acting light. Fries in the air, burgers in mid-flight. Trump screaming fake news, pushing up the sleeves. Elon calling something saying just breathe. McDonald's rappers flying ketchup in the sky. Air Force One chaos, who's gonna deny? Dancers popping out from behind the seats. Everyone's strapped in, it's a mid-air feat. DJ's beat.
Did you guys catch the look on JFK's face in the real picture?
Yes. He just didn't look comfortable.
He had this Todd knows RFK. He had this horrible look on his face, and somebody else posted it and said they're making the new guy do drugs so that they know he's not undercover police.
No, fabulous.
I saw that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So everybody's getting some good mileage out of that. But Todd, have you got any parting questions for the doc?
Oh, I don't know about parting. I could talk to him for a few days, which will hopefully get to happen at some point. But no, for now, this is really great. Particularly my starter pack. Now I'm straight on that. I like the 5 pillars. I think it's really refreshing, and I above all, I love the truth. Right, that's the cool part. Is
awesome, guys.
To sit here and have this conversation and help others understand that they're not alone in thinking that they were fooled. And this is just fantastic. I love your products. I love the sound of your products. I look forward to trying them out, and I'll do that. So thank you for coming today.
Todd does a couple
Todd.
different.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, he does a couple different podcasts. He gets millions of views each month. So Todd, when we get off of here, I'm going to do an email with both of you and Melissa, and
Perfect.
Then the doc can potentially work with Melissa to get you all scheduled for Truth Be Told.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Be a lot of fun.
All right. So we're going to play the closing bumper here. If you all got to go, you can. If not, the software will put us back in here after we go off air. It's up to you. But either way, appreciate your time, Doc. Appreciate you sending me the products. Did he send you any products, Todd, by chance?
No. Well, at least not I'm aware of. It could take weeks to get to the Caribbean from the States, so I haven't seen them yet.
I'll make sure. If you send me your address, I'll send you some. Yeah, we'll get you set up.
You got it. I'm gonna make you a trade because I'm gonna send you some chlorine dioxide too, so it will be fun.
There we go.
I was just kidding. Todd's always the one who gets to hang out with the cool kids, and for once, it's me instead of him. That's all.
Ow! Ow! You're hurting me, man. Where's my? Ow! Good.
All right. Appreciate it, y'all.
All right, fellas.
Awesome,
God bless.
guys.
See you.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right. Message for our audience. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and God bless America.
That's right.
If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest